Hey everyone, welcome back to Paramystic Christina. I am here today with Reverend Dr. Ken Torres. He is a Catholic priest, is that correct? Yeah,
Correct. Independent Catholic priest, not
independent.
affiliated with anybody. Yep.
Okay, independent Catholic priest, which is cool. I really love that. I love that you
Yeah.
can be a Catholic priest and be independent.
Well,
I
yeah, I
love
mean,
that.
like we have different branches like Orthodoxy, Anglican, Lutheranism. So we all consider ourselves Catholic, but not part of big Catholic church.
Nice, nice. I love that. Uh, Dr. Ken is also an exorcist. And so we are going to be doing some talking about that. Before we started recording, we were talking about a whole bunch of stuff, which we probably should have pushed the record button earlier, but
Yeah.
you know,
Should be
it's
a behind the scenes.
yeah, shoot behind the scenes. There you go. So I was actually, when I was thinking, when I asked you to do this, one of the burning questions that I had is, how do you know the difference between when someone needs like a home energy clearing, like, just a cleansing, a blessing, and when there's an actual exorcism that needs to be taken care of? Is that part of a property? Is that a home? Is that a person? How does
So,
all of that work?
so the exorcism part is just a general term for a cleansing, Roman Catholic Church. So it's just a word for a cleansing. Generally speaking, though, the exorcism ritual, what it means is to exorcise the individual of a demonic energy. But the umbrella term would be exorcism. And a lot of times, what ends up happening is when we are called into a home, there is a discovery period in which we have to discern, ask questions, conduct interviews, try to find any evidence of energy, demonic energy specifically. Um, Not to be confused with negative energy,
Right.
because I often believed that people are confused, right? So there is a difference between a demonic energy. Demonic is very unclean, unpure, it's unholy, it's dread, it's chilling, it's in your bones, it's insufferable pain and misery that's happening in your home, as opposed to Uncle John, who was a jerk in life, is a jerk in death, right? And he just doesn't want to let go of that property. So he'll do things to kind of mess with you or just to stake his claim, like this is my property. So that is the discovery phase. We just need to make sure that we don't confuse a negative energy with a demonic entity. And so that process requires a psychological evaluation, a medical evaluation. Does the person have an aversion to religious objects? Can they say a prayer? Can they read scripture? Can they hold a cross or a rosary without having some sort of an aversion, an aversive reaction? And I don't mean just if I give you the cross and put it in your hand and you start going, I can't do this. No, no. I'm talking about like what happened at the Dark Waters Paracon a few years ago. There's a gentleman that came up to us. He circled our table several times with Joe, Frankie, and I. And as soon as he approached me, his eyes turned white and black. And I was like, what's wrong? And I could tell instantaneously there was something wrong with him. His friend was like, hey, he's been going through some stuff, and we believe that there may be some sort of demonic attachment. Okay. I gave him a blessed rosary and I put it in his hand. And as soon as I put it in his hand, there was steam and the mark of the cross was in his hand. So that's the aversion that I'm looking for.
Okay.
And so we went to a private room just to do a minor rite of deliverance because you can't really do a full ritual exorcism, especially at a paracon.
Yeah.
But a minor rite of deliverance is basically just a small prayer. And so my colleague Joe Frankie at the time also had a rosary in his hand that I didn't know of. And when he put it on the back of this individual, he started flailing and going crazy. So that is true aversion to religious objects. So that
Okay.
is true either oppression or demonic possession. And so during that process, as we were praying for him and I put holy water on him, the scars of Jesus Christ's thorns started coming across him. So when I put the holy water on him, he started bleeding a little bit. And
Oh
so
my
that's how we
goodness.
know that there is something real and unholy. And I get it. Not a lot of people believe in demons or angels, and not a lot of people are of the faith. But I would impose this thought to other individuals. If you believe in positive energy and white light and angels, why is it hard to think of darker energies, demonic entities, darker beings? You can make that interpretation as a negative energy if you'd like, but to me, those are all demonic energies. So that's basically what the exorcism process is.
Okay. Well, first of all, I was there and I have no recollection of any of that happening.
That's right. Yeah. That's why we stepped away about 30 minutes before our lecture, and we went to a private room. We told the security guy, "Don't let anyone come in here," and that's it.
Okay. Yeah. We had really good security too at that
Yeah,
event, which I
yeah,
was
yeah.
grateful for. Um, Shoot, now I forgot my next question. Okay, so aversion to religion. I know that there are a lot of people, especially in the paranormal, who uh it's kind of two camps, it looks like, where there's like the religious and then
Yeah,
there's the anti-religious. I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
just they're not just not religious, they're like anti-religious.
Yeah,
You know what I
and
mean?
it's unfortunate. Unfortunately, the religion and faith has done a lot to many people. The messengers of our faith have destroyed relationships, have abused people spiritually, mentally, physically, sexually. And so I'm sorry for those people who have experienced that, but my relationship with my Savior is not that.
Right.
And so I get it. There are people that are against anti-religion, but nonetheless, these energies still exist, and you
They
don't
do.
have to be a person of the faith to believe in demonic energy, fallen
Right.
angels. But you know
Oh,
what also gets me though? It's like there's people who are anti-religion, but yet here they are calling out to Saint Michael the Archangel to protect them. It's
yeah.
like, okay, it's like you believe in one avenue, right? But you don't believe in the other. It's like, so, but if you're anti-God and you don't believe in God and you hate my faith and what it stands for, and you're anti-religion, but why are you calling out to Saint Michael the Archangel, which is a figure in the Christian faith, right? So
Right.
sometimes it's just like, okay, all right, I get it. I get it. You just want to feel good and you want to protect yourself. Not a problem.
Right, right. And there are people too who, really don't believe that angels have anything to do with religion, that angels are like their own species. So, there's that thought process too. And I think maybe those are the people who call on the Archangel Michael or whatever, because, being the Archangel of war or
Yeah, yeah.
protection or whatever you want to call it. Um, I think that's probably a thought process that some people come from.
And
It's
you know what?
just,
And I think
yeah,
that's okay. And I
yeah,
think that's okay. It's okay.
yeah,
It's not my job to tell people what to feel and what to think. It's not my job to judge you. At the end of the day, if that brings you comfort and that makes you happy, hey, you know what? Power to you. That's
yeah,
okay. It's not my
yeah.
place to change your mind.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know I've remembered what I was going to bring up because you said when you were talking about how people in the paranormal field, the spiritual field, whatever, believe in the light and the, bringing all of that in, but they don't believe in the dark. And I don't know it's that they don't believe in the dark. There's a couple camps of thought that I have in my own mind about this. So one is they've already walked in the dark and they've had enough of that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I kind of come from that camp, but I do
Yeah.
still deal with the dark. I don't tell people to what extent I deal with the dark. Yellow is my signature color. I wear
Right.
yellow. I have a floral tablecloth. I'm all bright and sunshine when I show up. And some people do interpret that as I'm ignoring the dark, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
I
discernment right there. You've
right,
had experiences, right? And
right.
so you just choose to not deal with that avenue of the supernatural.
Unless I have
It
to.
is, yeah, and it's very
Yeah.
it's very burdensome dealing with the darker
Hmm.
aspect. Many times I tell people like I deal with a lot of dark cases, and they're like, "Well, how many demons have you exorcised, and how many demons have you come across?" And it's not so much the demonic factor, it's the fact that there are people who are genuinely suffering, people who
Right.
have traumatic brain injuries, people who have trauma, people who've been through so much in their life, so much darkness, right? That they're just in a dark place.
Yes.
And so many times they may interpret that, or they've created this narrative that whatever's afflicting them is supernatural, when in reality, the demons are internal. The
Yeah.
demons are just the mindset. The demon are just the pain that they choose to not acknowledge, not the demons that come out and possess you and make you levitate. And so I get that sentiment. Yeah, it can be really, really harrowing just working in this aspect of it.
Right.
Yeah, it brings me comfort and brings me joy, but at the same time, the human side of me sees a lot of the suffering, sees a lot of the pain that people are going through. So,
Yeah.
how can I help you? That's always my goal. How can
Hmm.
I help you? How can I
Right.
help you hopefully get back to a state of happiness, a state of where you can want to function again like a normal human being? You know, let's get you some resources. Let's get you to the right people. Let's talk about those traumas. Let's talk about the pain you've been through. And then we'll start off little by little from there and let's see where this takes us.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a psychic medium and well as a psychic in general, um, a lot of my job is really to help people come to terms with those sorts of things, and in an average 1 hour reading, I might talk 15 minutes. I do a lot
Right.
of listening.
Yeah. And
You know,
that's really what the job is.
it really is. It really
A
is to
lot of
give
the work
people
that I
the
do.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I tell people. A lot of what I do is pastoral counseling and chaplaincy. So I have a master's in pastoral counseling and doctorate in theology and divinity. But I'm also a board certified mental health coach,
Mhm.
with over 300 hours of training. And I've also been a chaplain for the VA, over 5,000 clinical hours working with veterans. My job is to listen. That's really what I do. My job is to listen,
Yeah.
and it's to pastor you and to try to counsel you, non-medical counseling, non-medical advice, but just to listen and to try to help you get back to a functioning state. Yeah. And I find that people sometimes just want to be listened to. They
Yeah.
need someone to talk to. And once you break down those boundaries and you open them up and you build a rapport and a wonderful relationship, then you see people start becoming more lighthearted and they can breathe a little bit.
Yes.
That's always the best feeling. That's always the best
It
feeling.
really is.
Yeah.
It really is. The other thing that I was going to say about, people who only want to look at the light is that they're really afraid of the dark. There's a
And you
lot of
shouldn't be.
fear there. Absolutely, absolutely. But some people are so afraid of the dark that they won't even like look in that direction. Like there's nope, not dealing with that.
Right.
And I totally respect that because the dark can be a scary place, you
It
know?
can be a scary place, especially if you've been there. I've been
Mhm.
there many times,
Yeah,
even throughout my
same.
career, having been in the military, being a veteran, I've dealt with the darkness. I've been in the darkness myself. So it can be a really scary place. But you learn things. You learn about yourself. Trial by fire, sort of a purification process.
Yes.
And but I respect that. The dark isn't for everybody. The
No.
dark isn't. And I tell people, I'd rather you just work with light and work in the light than pretending to be a person who works in the dark,
Right.
especially if you don't understand it. I believe in order to
Yeah.
have been in the dark, to be working in the dark, you would have had to go through some sort of darkness yourself.
Yes.
Kind of like a resurrection, a phoenix, rise
Yeah.
from the ashes sort of things.
Exactly. Yeah. And there are a lot of us who grew up in the dark,
Right.
who prefer to show a lot of light, to send love out to the world and out to the planet and all of that. Um, that
I'm
might,
right there with
yeah,
you. I'm
yeah,
right there with you. I came from a broken home. My mother, she was a drug addict and she was a streetwalker. My grandfather, her father, SA'd her and gave her HIV. And so I came from a broken home. So my grandmother
right.
raised me. And so I know what it's like to not have a maternal or paternal figure in that sense, besides my grandmother. I've been homeless. I used to live in closets with my grandmother. I used to drink water out of the toilet bowl because we didn't know where our next meal was coming from. So I've been there and I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is really interesting because you can see the people who've really been there and then done the work on
yeah,
themselves, on their own spirit, on their own soul,
yeah,
to be able to recover from some of that.
yeah.
Um, I don't know if recovery is even the right word. Maybe healing is the right word. I'm not really sure, but to rise above in some aspect,
I
having
would say
been there.
maybe more of a transformation.
Transformation is
I think it's a
good. Yeah,
transformative process.
it
What I
is.
like to tell people is that we are people in process.
Mhm.
And so we go through different seasons of our lives, and some seasons are better than others. So we are in a process.
Yeah, absolutely. There is no doubt about that. We are definitely in a process.
Right.
Um, there's, I know that when I met you, like we instantly clicked, like we were instant friends. And
Yeah.
we
Mm.
have been instant friends, although we don't talk a lot. But even then, it's like we're still friends, and we're still like every time I see you pop up in my Facebook feed, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, there's Ken.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
same here. I mean, you just have wonderful energy. You were just really nice, sweet, kind-hearted, and I knew of you, and I was like, oh my gosh. I kind of fanboyed a little bit. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Christina Bloom. I go, oh my gosh, get yourself together. Can I get a little respect? I was like, okay, do this. And scene. Hi, Christina. I'm Ken. That was my process when I first met you.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I didn't even know you'd
Right?
heard my name. That's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, no, no.
Wow.
No, that's the truth. Scout's honor. But
Um,
it was interesting
yeah,
though. I think we were talking about that earlier behind the scenes. How preconceived notions and judgments can really put a damper on a person's relationship with others.
right.
Uh, Going into, with Frankie, Frank, I'm still friends with him and I'm greatly appreciative. He invited us to Dark Waters Paracon. And it's like, hey, there's a diverse bunch of individuals over here. We're gonna have Satanists and psychics and mediums, cool, whatever, And he told me, you are a priest, so don't be surprised if there's a little pushback. No problem. Hey, whatever. It is what it is. I am who I am. And I met Richard Lale, wonderful individual. I
Oh,
still
isn't he
text him all.
fun?
He's amazing. I text him every once in a while. I'll send him little
Yeah.
memes. I'm like, okay. And Patty, I'm grateful for Patty Negri. I'm teaching at
Yeah.
her university at the
Are
University of
you?
Magicus.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been an instructor for the past almost a year now. I've taken a summer break, but I've done 2 or 3 courses there. And when the courses that I try to teach, they're more from the clerical side. Clerical interpretations on mental illness, demonic possession, the occult, maybe stories on, the supernatural, because I also am with the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research.
Right.
I work with the grandson of Ed and Lorraine Warren, and I've been in the foundation going on 5 years, and I am the manager for the Spanish division. So I'm in charge of over 22 Spanish-speaking countries, members and cases and clients, along with my assistant director, Monica, and I have regional directors. I'm also part of the International Order of Exorcists with Father Enright, and I am the Prior General, Chief Exorcist with the Solomonic Order of St. Michael the Archangel, and I am a husband and a chaplain for the Knights of Columbus. So I have a lot going on, and PGA Hope captain, golf captain. So I'm involved in a lot of different things.
Right.
And so going back to the point is like, this is just one aspect of who I am.
Right.
And if you're going to judge me based on one aspect, then you're missing out on the other fine things in life.
Yeah. It's so funny because as you were talking about the Dark Waters Paracon, I should have brought it up. Maybe I'll send it to you again. A picture that I have of you battling with the she-devil Donovan.
Yeah, yeah. How is Donovan? I don't know.
Donovan seems to be pretty good. I haven't seen him in probably a year. I was at the
Yeah,
what was it? The Fairies and Magical Creatures Festival I went to last year, but I didn't make it this year. But I did
back in
see him
Plattsburgh.
last year. Yeah,
Back.
it was in Elizabethtown.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I've got to get back east. I've got family back there. I miss the East Coast. I mean, I was born in New York and raised in Jersey most of my whole life.
okay.
So I miss the East Coast. I was just back in Virginia a few weeks ago, and I'm represented by Ray Sabino of Flumeri Promotions. And so we did this event at in the local, to the Central Abandoned High School. I gave a lecture there with Stephen Dills, Ron and Lourdes Jacobetti, amazing people as well, to ITC method. So I get a chance to go back east like once a year. I was last year at the USS Salem with Larissa, and a couple of cases in between that I can't mention. I may or may not have been back east several times.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm actually doing the Mass Paracon this year in Fairhaven, Massachusetts.
Oh, I
So
would love to go. I just don't get
yeah.
invited to these things.
Oh, I kind of invited myself.
Yeah, yeah, and I tread really careful because I don't. I have to remain impartial, but I do see a lot of drama going on.
Hmm.
And because I remain impartial and because I believe in ethics and
Yeah.
I do have real credentials that I have to keep, I don't get involved with those things and I don't engage. But yet I still get accused of not standing up for what's right and what's wrong. But I'm like, those are your impartial biases, and I am
Right.
impartial. And so I've been told too, you've been blacklisted from events. We're not going to invite you because you're part of this organization or this individual doesn't like you or this event company doesn't like you. Hey, that's fine. I don't care, you
Yeah.
know? So, I mean,
Yeah.
I may just have to just show up one day unannounced. Um,
There
and
you
that's
go.
the thing we were talking about. That leads into the professional accountability.
Right.
I suppose, and I surmise, and it's nothing with ego, when you go through certain training and you're legit and you have credentials, even then you still get accused of being false or buying your certificates online, whatever,
Hmm.
So who doesn't go to school online, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
it's the same thing. So I went through a private seminary. So I have a bachelor's in finance and accounting, and then my master's and my doctoral degree are from religious institutions, right? So who cares if it wasn't Harvard? Who cares if it wasn't Yale? That's why we have the separation of church and state, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of states will allow you and say, hey, the government should not be dictating what is taught at schools as far as education, right? And so
Right.
I also have a problem when you have these other colleges, maybe like University of Phoenix and Harvard and Yale, they're trying to teach theology and religion, and these instructors have no clerical standing. They don't understand what it's like to be in ministry. They're
Right.
just going through what the script is in school, but there's no actual living and fulfillment of what's being taught. So I'm okay with that. Just like I'm okay with people having the wonderful gift and vocation of wanting to marry people, right?
Hmm.
People are like, well, I went to ULC online. Hey, congratulations. You know,
Yeah.
you got ordained as a pastor, reverend. Hey, that's fine. That's not my job to judge you. My whole goal is like, I want to be here and love on you and support you. But I do tell people, look, yes, there is a difference. Although you do have that certificate, you purchased it online. Understand, though, that it's a little different than people who are in actual ministries and vocations that have been doing this for years. But nonetheless, it's still a beautiful calling.
Right.
Marrying people is such a beautiful thing. Praying for people is such a beautiful thing. And if you feel like in your heart, you're called as a pastor, you're called as a reverend, you're called as a deacon, and the only way you can fulfill that acknowledgement is by going to like ULC or another private place to get those certificates, then I'm happy for you.
Right.
Because my goal in life is I want you to be happy and I want you to live a life of purpose. Because, right, I think we often get confused. Life is not about being happy, it's about purpose, it's about fulfilling that purpose.
Yeah.
If we try to be happy all of the time, we're just going to go nuts.
Right. And
So
it's exhausting.
it's
Oh my gosh.
exhausting. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
wearing that mask all the time, that would be exhausting.
Wearing a facade of like, I'm always
Yeah.
happy, I'm always happy, or always living under the facade, well, I am better than you, and I've got more followers than you, I've got this, I own this company, so whatever I say is word, and people don't like you because I tell them not to like you. Who cares? Excuse the
Yeah.
French, I don't give a crap. I don't care. I don't care about you.
Yeah.
Come tell me in my face. If you got a problem with me, just let me know. But
Right.
if you don't have my phone number, then we're not that close. So you have nothing to say about me. And this
Exactly.
is what I want for the paranormal community. I want you to be happy and be comfortable in doing what you're doing and fulfilling that calling and vocation. Yes, it's a process. Yes, there are certain things that we may or may not know or misunderstand, but keep true to yourself and follow your
Yeah.
virtues, right? Be righteous, be loving, be compassionate. Above all, be understanding. But what I care about is the quality of that individual. If you are a
Right.
loving individual, love surpasses everything. I don't
Right.
care. That's just me.
Yeah. Well, and that
And I
makes
think maybe
total
that's why
sense to me.
we got along.
Yeah.
Right?
I had no preconceived notions about anything when I walked into the Dark Waters Paracon. It was my first Paracon ever, and I've done several since. But yeah, it was a real honor to meet you and Joe. And,
Yeah.
I had heard of the Warren Foundation, but I didn't
Yeah.
know anything about it. Um, turns
Yeah.
out it's a
So
huge organization.
Yes, yes.
It's
So the Warren
huge.
Legacy, it's huge. So the
Yeah.
Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research was created in 2014 by Lorraine Warren and her grandson Chris McKinnell and Joe Franke. Joe Franke is one of the original students of the Warrens. And so the idea for Lorraine was, it's like not everyone knows where New England is at. So there's Nesper. So Tony Spera, uh, he is in charge of the museum, right? He's in
Mhm.
charge of Nesper and whatever they do in that area. But the goal for Lorraine was to have an organization that expands worldwide. And so that's what the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research is. We have over 100 members worldwide. We are of diverse religions, cultures, beliefs, and sciences and disciplines. And the goal is to help educate the public, help minimize fear, but more importantly, Lorraine wanted a support system for psychics, which is why we have two psychic support groups in English and Spanish, right? So the psychic mediums, intuitives can come in and talk about their experiences, not to get, not to get readings, but distract yourselves a little bit, because we know that there are people out there who are intuitive and have these wonderful abilities, and sometimes they may not have the ability to be able to talk to a regular person without being labeled crazy. And
Right.
my thought on that, oh, Father, Ken, you gotta be careful. You're talking about psychics and mediums. That's evil. That's witchcraft. They're all going to go to hell. No. We look in the book of Daniel. We look at the book of Daniel. We see visions, right? We see all of these prophets with these visions. And so I see people that have these intuitive abilities as divine gifts, right? And
Mhm.
it's how you use these divine gifts to help people. And people are like, well, that's blasphemy. No, we also know that the magisterium of the doctrine of faith, the big Catholic Church, has also put out new documents stating that not everything we encounter is demonic. And there are
Yeah.
things in there in this world that God has allowed that we don't understand. And so I often think that that negative connotation. So when I see these podcasts, former witch becomes Christian, former psychic medium becomes Christian, hey, great. Hey, you found your way, right? But I've also noticed that all of these witches or psychic mediums, they've had a rude awakening because they were using their abilities for evil. And so now they come into the light. And so I think, people that have these abilities, without crossing any theological lines, according to my faith, I just think that these wonderful gifts are just divinely, and it's how you use them.
Mhm.
That's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah.
And that's all
Well,
I
I
know.
think that's true of any gift, it really is how you
Yeah,
use
yeah,
it, you know?
yeah.
You could be a brilliant, medical doctor and be intentionally hurting people. You can,
Right, right.
you can be a design engineer and create something that's going to fail on purpose, you know?
Yeah.
There's well, I think they call that, what is it, designed obsolescence or something?
Mhm.
Anyway, so yeah, it's how you use any gift that you have, I
I agree.
really it's so important though that we understand that we can see the light in each other,
Right,
and
right,
that being able to see the light in each other, regardless,
right.
of whether someone is wearing a collar, a
Yeah,
turban, a
yeah.
I forget what yarmulke,
Yamaka? Yeah.
yarmulke,
Yeah, Yamaka.
yeah, a
Yeah,
headdress, whatever, or a blouse, whatever it is, that,
yeah,
we see the light in each other, and that's really where it all brings a community together, and,
right,
I don't know about you, but I'm kinda just sitting back and watching the paranormal community implode on itself
right,
because of
right. And,
competition, because of I'm better than you, because of, I'm going to get the best footage, I'm going to get the best, uh, evidence, and
right.
we're all gonna go to the same place 50,000 times. How is that helping anybody? I don't understand, but I'm not getting involved in that
I don't either. It's because we're adults.
conflict.
It's
Yes.
because we're adults. And so here's the thing with that as well.
Yeah,
And even if we don't get involved, people still accuse us of like, well, why don't you say anything? I go, why should I? My
yeah,
job is to remain impartial. I don't get involved in drama. I don't get involved in child disputes. The only complaint that you'll find against me from a real client is that they're upset at me that I did not confirm they were possessed by a demon, that I confirmed that they had a mental and psychological diagnosis, right? You
yeah,
know, that's the only complaint you'll hear from a client. Other people, they'll say, oh, you're false, you're a fraud, you're not a real priest. Okay, I never said I was a Roman Catholic priest. I'm not a Roman Catholic priest. We have Anglicans, we have Lutherans, we also have Orthodoxy that is not part of the Roman Catholic Church. Yes, I am a practicing Roman Catholic faithful. And within the Roman Catholic Church, I am a chaplain recognized by my archdiocese with my real valid credentials. And so
Mm-hmm.
they do call me Reverend Doctor, not Reverend Father, but I provide chaplaincy services for the Roman Catholic Church. But that is my personal time. That's my personal worship with that. And
Right.
so I think often people conflate it too. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I'm allowed to wear my collar. And so just a bunch of haters, and it's like, I think the biggest problem is misunderstanding, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people are just spiteful and they'll just try to bring you down for whatever reason.
Well,
Interestingly
yeah.
enough, the same people that say they don't like you for what you stand for, they have the same 300 mutual friends that you do that stand for the same thing you stand for.
Right.
But they cannot point out something you've done wrong to them. Why?
Yeah.
Because you keep them accountable. Because they know that if you actually have a head-to-head conversation with them, that you will completely destroy their false narratives that they're bringing, that you will destroy their influx of money, that you will basically not have them prey on other people. And that's
Right.
why a lot of people have either distanced themselves from me or they say that they don't like me. And I've had these conversations in my private messenger. You know, if I wanted to, I can just spill the beans on so many different things, but I do follow, my code of ethics. I do follow confession, and
Mm-hmm.
so I've had many different people come to me in prayer, confession, talking about many other individuals within the paranormal community. And I go, it is between you and that individual to solve the problems. I can only
Right.
offer you advice on what to do. I can only pray for you. I can set you up with mental health resources, other resources. But if you're coming to me to try to get me to be on your side, you're wrong because that's not what I do. So if
Yeah.
someone did something wrong to you and one of my followers did something wrong to you and you have a problem with me because of my follower, that's not a me issue. That's a you issue. Talk to my follower, talk to my friend that has offended you. I
Right.
don't do these childish squabbles. You don't. Because here's one thing I tell people. It's taken a lot of violence to be this peaceful. I am a combat veteran. I was in the Marine Corps. I went through a lot of traumatic events. I was a government contractor. I worked with alphabet soup agencies, and I still work as a volunteer for an agency right now. So you don't want to get on my bad side. I've left
Right.
that path away. And so that's why I don't get involved. And I think sometimes people are just, well, they think they're tougher than you, but they're like, okay, that's fine. If you think you're tougher than me and you want to bully me, you want to talk bad about me, hey, that's fine. Whatever. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been slandered, I've been defamated, I've been driven over. I don't really care. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't pay attention to the haters, so I don't even know if
Yeah.
there are any.
Yeah, yeah.
And if there are, I don't know who they are, and I don't care,
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
I think Cat Williams said it best. I love me a hater, you know? Haters let you know you're doing something right.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go. Yeah, I just don't even make myself aware of that. You know,
yeah,
I just stick with what I feel is right and doing the work that I am called to do. And I feel blessed to be able to answer that call,
yeah. To
because
me,
like
that's the
you,
most important thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
like you, I
look,
had a rough childhood. I had a
yeah,
lot of violence, a lot of addiction issues, a lot of all of that going on.
yeah,
And to become the person that I am today took a lot of work.
yeah,
And I'm not giving her up
yeah.
because someone has an opinion based on their own experiences and not on
Right.
mine. So,
Well, yeah, I agree.
yeah,
And I tell people too, and if I've done something wrong to offend you, please let me know so I can correct it.
right, right,
I am accountable for my actions. If I say something wrong, I keep accountability. If I do something wrong, hey, I messed up. But if you can't point out what I did wrong, then those are just your insecurities. That's
right.
all.
That's on you then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm the same way. If somebody comes to me and, they're unhappy with something that I've done or whatever, okay, let's talk about that. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that. I will be accountable for it, even
Right.
especially if I didn't mean to do it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like I'm
Exactly.
not a malicious person.
No.
Um, it's
And
really I love having these conversations with you because
yeah,
you bring such a different aspect than what I live in
yeah,
my daily life.
yeah.
And it's just a beautiful thing. And I want to thank you for credentialing me. I don't even think you know you did it. It was when Logan and I had you on the paranormal room,
Okay.
and you referred to me as a world-class psychic.
Yes.
I'm using that now, and I'm using you as credentialing me with that.
I appreciate that. Well,
So
thank you.
thank you.
Yes, you are. I mean, you're just a wonderful individual. Honestly, sometimes even here's my thought right now. Even being in this space with you, your energy is very powerful. And it's just like sometimes I feel like I'm like, oh crap, I'm
Tone it
howling a
down,
little bit.
man. Tone it
Yeah, tone it
down.
down, man. And that's the beauty and the love that I see in people. And going back to the paranormal, that's really what it is. It's imploding because people are not keeping accountability for what they're doing or what they're saying, or everyone's trying to make a quick buck, or everyone is doing the same thing over and over. Yeah, events are wonderful. It's cool to go to these locations and set up equipment and have experiences, but what are you really learning? What happens after that experience goes? What happens, right? You
Right.
make EVP conversation, you have some communication. What happens after that moment? It goes away.
Yeah.
It goes away. So what are you doing? That's what I care about. Are you going to take that information? Are you going to take that evidence? Are you going to try to replicate it? What is it that you're doing? Are you going to be helping out these spirits crossover? Are you going to be helping out the property owners? Are you going to be helping out the families? More importantly, understanding what's happening. It's much more than just coming in and setting up equipment. And even then, we've got to be really, really careful not to be like either super religious or too super, biased. Because when
Right.
I come in to these investigations as well, yeah, I have these titles, whatever. I have my faith, but I don't go in thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to encounter a level A class 25 centrified demon from the 25th pit to hell. No. Okay. No. Okay. What do we have here? What are we going on? It's my job to be very skeptical. Okay. All right. Well,
Mhm.
this is happening. Well, maybe this is what's going on. Well, I heard this sound. Well, maybe it's because of this. Oh, well, I'm not sleeping right. Okay. Are you taking sleeping pills? You have depression, anxiety, trauma. What's your work life? What's your marriage like? Oh, well, did you watch a scary movie? Are you watching all of these paranormal shows? And then all of a sudden your imagination is running wild. So that's my job. That's what I do.
Right. That's funny because I watch the paranormal shows so that I can critique them.
Yeah.
You
So I
know?
watch them.
Yeah.
I watch them and I'm like, okay, that's cool. I go, you know what? I'm not there. Maybe there's an answer for that. Maybe there's an explanation for that. And so many people, they'll talk bad about these shows, and it's not my job to talk bad. It's not my job to judge. I just simply say, you know what? I don't necessarily agree with their methodology, his or her methodology. I would
Hmm.
try something different. But and that's as far as it is. Like people always want to try to get some sort of negative answer from you. They want to try to bait you into saying,
Exactly.
and then because then they're
Exactly.
like, oh, this person said something negative about this individual. Now I'm going to tell this other individual who knows that individual. And that's how problems arise. It's like, hey, you know what? We don't have to agree. I tell people, I still have my faith. I still believe in my way of things within my faith. I don't necessarily have to agree with how you do things. I don't necessarily have to agree with your beliefs, and that's okay. I can have a respectful disagreement with you. I don't
Right.
have to be 100% on board with what and how you're doing things.
Yeah.
I can just say, hey, you know what? It's not for me. I don't necessarily understand that, or I don't think it's right for me, might be right for you. It's not what I believe in, and that's it. Move forward. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna just hammer it in. Well, you gotta have to do this, and my faith requires that I now just subjectify you to torture, pain, and no, that's not what I do.
And
Love and
that's not
compassion.
you. You
That's
don't
not
even
me.
carry that energy. That is
No,
amazing.
man.
Um, one of
I'm
the
a goofy
things,
guy.
yeah,
I'm a
one of the
goofy
things
guy.
that, yeah, maybe that's why we get along. We're both goofy.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the things that I have realized, because I've just only recently started watching the paranormal shows, and one of the things that I've realized is that there are a lot of people who are doing paranormal things who are not protecting their own energy. they're going in to paranormal investigations without um, without protecting themselves, without putting up any kind of a shield. And honestly, I have been to physical locations where it's right in their contract. When you sign the contract to go investigate in one of these public places set
Yeah.
up for that, some of them actually have in the contract, you are not allowed to use self-protection.
Yeah,
No,
no,
no. And if I am using self-protection, you're never going to know it anyway. So
exactly right. It's like that's like the dumbest clause in the line. Oh,
yeah,
okay, let's just
I
sit here.
don't.
What I
That's like
normally do, at
walking.
least,
I'm sorry. That's like stepping into a boxing ring, but you're not
yeah,
allowed to throw a punch.
yeah, right, exactly. So what I always do is like for my team, it's like I tell people, we all have different faiths. It's like,
Hmm.
just surround yourself, do whatever it is that you need to do. If it's a tiki rain dance, do it. Just
Yeah.
do it before you go and just protect yourself energetically. But more importantly, when I go into these places and I have a team with me, first of all, hey, how have you been this past week? How are
Hmm.
you feeling? How are you doing? Are your affairs at home right? Is your job bringing you stress? Okay, then maybe you shouldn't come along.
Right.
Fix your stuff. In the military, we say fix your crap.
Yeah.
You need to fix your stuff before, and it's so much more than just energy. It's spiritually, yeah, but it's also mentally and emotionally. You
Yeah.
have to have all of those boxes checked mark, and you have to be in the
Right.
right frame of mind to be able to initiate and launch some sort of investigation. And it's not that you're going to get followed home by a demon, but if there truly is energy there, sometimes these energies, they may be lost, trapped, or confused, and the only way they know how to communicate is by being attracted to you and using your energy, or maybe touching you on the shoulder, or making you feel sick a little bit to, hey, I'm here and I'm scared and I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just trying to get your attention so that you can help me understand why am I in this place.
Right. Right. That's the other clause that I've been seeing a lot is you're not allowed to cross spirits over. What?
Yeah, yeah. So, it's
That's slavery. I'm sorry. That's slavery. You can't do
I
that.
second that motion. It's like you want to treat spirits like caged animals in a zoo. We go in with our popcorn. Hey, spirit, why don't you do a dance for me? Hey, spirit, move this object for me. It's like, hey, spirit, do this, and
Yeah.
it breaks my heart. It's like there's no respect, and that's why I don't get invited to these places because I speak against these things, and a
I do
lot of these
too.
people. I have
Yeah.
friends, look, and friends, if you're listening to this, I know some of you own locations, and it's nothing towards you. I
Hmm.
respect your business and your mindset, and it's nothing towards anyone specifically that I know, because the people that I associate with are not these sorts of individuals. I'm
Right.
talking about people that are not within my circle that allow these things to happen. Just for what? For monetary gain? Come on now.
Yeah.
If
That's not.
anything, if anything, you should be
Yeah.
shut down immediately. And I pray that whatever you do 7 times comes back to you 14 times.
Right. I agree with you. It's that those are the places I don't go into, even if I'm
Right.
invited. I
No,
want to see the contract. I want to see that contract because
no,
first of all, I am going to protect myself and I am going to
no,
protect my team. And if you don't like
yeah,
it, not my problem. And
yeah,
I tend to protect the tech people because I'm not a tech person.
yeah,
Um, I have one spirit box because my husband gifted it to me. So
right.
I have one spirit box. But other than that, I don't have equipment. So, but I use myself as the
Right.
equipment, like my own intuition, my own psychic ability is my
You are the
best.
equipment.
I
You
am
are the
the
equipment.
equipment, but I also put protection on my entire team, the tech team who doesn't connect directly with spirit like I
Right,
do,
right.
because they just become easy targets because they're connected to their technology. Well, what's easier to use than energy for an
Technology.
energetic spirit,
Exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
I don't go into places that require no self-protection. That's crazy. Why would you do
Right.
that? I mean, that's like
Who
going
knows
on to
why? Who
it's like
knows
going
why,
on to
Christina?
construction site with no helmet. Come on.
Yeah, it's like, come on, do
Yeah.
better, people. Just be better. Be
Yeah.
better. And
Just
and I'm
be
sure all my
better.
haters are going to see this podcast, and that's fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
Don't invite me to your stupid location. And I'll say stupid location. I don't care, right?
Yeah.
Because chances are there's also probably nothing going on there, and you're just trying to build it up. And that's the other thing too. You have a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of places that I think maybe at one point in time had no energy, because of the repetitious flow of teams going in,
Right.
right? What happens when you start calling out? You're eventually going to get an answer, right?
Hmm.
Right?
Or
You're
you're
eventually
going
going
to
to get
create
something.
something.
Yeah, you're going to create a tulpa or an egregore, or
Hmm.
chances are you're going to piss something off that, is not going to be happy. It's like,
Hmm.
let them rest in peace. And so you also have a lot of locations, I've seen that as well, is not a lot of reported energy, or maybe nothing's going on, but then people make a big deal out of it and they hype it up. I get it. It's their business. They want to make money. I'm careful with those people as well too.
Yeah.
You invite me to a place, hey, that's fine. I'm not going to go in with any ideas. Oh, it's a nice, historic, beautiful place. If I communicate with something, hey, nice. I'm not
Yeah.
going to be like, oh my gosh, I felt this in this back corner, winking my eye. You feel it? Yeah, you feel it for camera views. You feel
Right.
it? Yeah, I felt it. Oh my gosh, my stomach is sick. Oh my gosh, Padre, I feel like I need to throw up. I felt like it was an elemental. You know,
Yeah.
that's true. That's what we see in the paranormal community as well, and that's why
Which
it's
is
imploding.
sad.
There's no
Yeah.
integrity. I have no problem being bluntly honest.
Hmm.
It's not my job to give you comforting lies. It's to tell you the truth.
Well, and the other thing is too that that just brings less legitimacy to those people who actually are
Yeah,
communicating, who actually are,
yeah,
even getting evidence, which is okay, let's get evidence. But I've never needed evidence because they talk to me
mm,
all the time. But
right,
that's me, that's not
yeah,
everybody. Um, but, I think that all of that creating, what did you call it, a tulpa? A,
yeah. Tulpa
yeah,
or egregore.
yeah, or egregore,
Yeah,
creating those things, creating an energy that can, I don't know, even perform acts or whatever. Um, that really brings just so much, it just takes legitimacy away from
yeah,
the legitimate people who are out there to help people. When I got into the paranormal 20 plus years ago, um, that that didn't exist. There were no pay to play places, you
yeah,
know? It
yeah.
was all people called us for help because they had stuff going on in their homes or their businesses and they needed help.
Right.
People were, being affected negatively or whatever, and they needed help. And that's still what I do. I
Yeah,
still
yeah.
go into individual homes or private businesses and say, all right, what's going on here? Let's get this figured out and let's see if we can help these people. That's
Right.
still what I do. I'm
That's
not,
what I think that's what Holzer did. That's what the Warrens did.
yeah,
Obviously, they didn't have a lot of social media presence back then, but there had to be certain ways to convey that they were out there to help people.
right.
And it's true, the pay to play, but that's why I'm really grateful to, for example, like Ghost Hunters, the original Ghost Hunters. I
Hmm.
thought it was wonderful. I thought it was wonderfully done. I admire and respect the fact that, those guys went out with equipment and they communicated with these things, and they brought a certain element that not a lot of people saw. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, we know that these things are out there. We know that there's a possibility of supernatural experiences happening, but like Ghost Hunters, Taps, Jay and Grant, and those guys, and Tango and Steve Gonzalez, they brought something different. It actually showed you what was being communicated with the potential equipment. Because even at its best today, we are still a pseudoscience. The paranormal is
Hmm.
still a pseudoscience. We
Right.
don't really know what we're communicating with. Like, at least I don't, I don't
Right.
have those abilities. I do know when my spirit, my gift is different. My calling is exorcism. So
Hmm.
I don't really participate in a lot of paranormal investigations or events in that sense, unless I'm going to give a lecture. And my lecture is always the same thing. Um, Also, too, we also have to understand that demons and haunted houses and paranormal investigations should not be synonymous with one another.
Right.
Demonic energy is a completely different energy than as a human spirit, right? Human
Hmm.
spirits, I believe, are a little more stubborn because of that free will aspect.
Hmm.
And so it also kills me when I see people like, oh, well, there's a demon here. Who trained you to classify these things? What
Yeah.
seminary school did you go to? What theological training do you have? Okay, well, I'm an intuitive. Okay, you're an intuitive that doesn't believe in demonic activity, but then why are you labeling it as demonic? So those are all things that we also have to be cautious about. And,
Right.
and I tell
Right.
people about these things. Demonic activity is not synonymous and should not be synonymous with paranormal investigations. Yeah, it's true. Communicating with spirits can maybe attract a darker energy, right? Depending on the state of the individual. And which
Right.
is why I often tell people as well, just be careful with the Ouija board. Most of my cases have resulted from Ouija board use. And
Right.
maybe, it's like you should have not done that when your energy is down and you're not guarded. Here's my interpretation of the Ouija board, right? I tell people, look, I'm like the news, I report, you decide. You don't have to buy what I'm selling. For me, the Ouija board in itself is individuals collectively combined with their energies communicating to this board, right?
Right.
And you, me, and my other colleagues may be fine. But what happens if our one team member is in that state of suicidal depression or anxiety, right? Guess what? If there is an energy that will be attracted, it's going to be attracted to who? That individual.
That
And
individual,
so,
absolutely.
but guess what? All of our energies combined have now helped summon something stronger. And now our friend, teammate, may be the victim of some sort of oppression or affliction, as opposed to just the EVP, digital voice recorder. Yeah, it's communicating, but you can just leave it open. And if there's something there, hey, it'll communicate. So that's my interpretation of the Ouija board. It's just a combined collective energy. And not all the time things are going to
Mhm.
happen. You're not going to get a demon all the time or a Divic or whatever it is, but just be mindful in your communication as well. It goes
Mhm.
back to that energy grounding, to the shielding. What's your mindset like? What's your life like?
Yeah, exactly. The other thing, well, my interpretation of Ouija board is that they're sold at toy stores.
Right,
They're
right.
sold to
That
be
too.
they're sold as toys, and there is absolutely nothing in the instructions on how to set a space and protect your space with
Right,
light, right? So
right.
they're being misused because people aren't taught how to use them correctly. As far as I'm concerned, it's just another tool, but
Yeah,
you have to
I
use
agree.
the tools correctly.
Exactly. Here's a funny joke. You
Yeah,
have to be 11 to 12 years old to buy a Ouija board in America, but 21 to buy a beer.
yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Right? You can be
Yeah.
11, 12 years old to buy a Ouija board, but at least 21 years old to buy a beer.
You
So,
know what's funny is that Ouija boards are actually eight years and up.
oh, yeah, correction. Thank you for that correction. I stand
Yeah,
corrected.
eight
That's
years and up. That's
nuts.
what's on the box.
I have Ouija boards in my closet and I open them up and I think they're nice. People have sent me Ouija boards. People have sent me these alleged haunted objects. I have over 50 alleged haunted objects and dolls sitting in my garage right now. Nothing has happened to me. It's the intention. It's how you protect yourself and ground
Right,
yourself. If you pay mind to it, then it's going to do something.
right.
Also, if you're an antiquer, right, and you like collecting antique stuff, hey, when you get something, say a blessing on it. You don't
Yeah,
know what the original intention is. It
right.
may not have been bad, but when you get like an antique, use your original, to take away that initial original intention. Say, hey, you know what? I grace this, I bless this, whatever you want to do. Tiki tiki rain dance, ha ha ha, you're good. Now you're
Sage
beautiful
it,
in mind. That's
whatever.
it.
Yeah.
Sage it, do things like
Yeah,
that. Even you got to protect yourself even when you go to Costco. I know when I go to
yeah.
Costco, oh my gosh, I dread it. When I come out of Costco, I have a headache. I feel nauseous. I'm like, oh my gosh. People are just standing in the way, just talking about their lives in the middle of the grocery aisle. I'm like, people, you can do that on phones, right? So
Yeah.
you've been going to Costco, you got to get some good energy. And I'm guilty
Take
sometimes of not
yeah.
doing that.
Take this conversation to a coffee shop.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Please do.
The thing is that, yeah, it's like Costco, Walmart, whatever, right? So,
Yeah.
um, I whenever I go into even the grocery store down the street, it's like I put my protection on. I don't know. I don't even like calling it protection, but I will pull in my energy. I'll snap my fingers and get inside my trailer hitch was just a reflective bubble, right? So everything
Yeah.
just doesn't get to me, it bounces off,
Yeah.
whatever, so that I'm not connecting with the energy of every person in the place
Right.
because
Right.
everybody has their own story. And honestly, as tuned in as I am, if I pay attention to everybody's story, I will be crazy in 10 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
I just can't do that. I just can't do that. And I just glanced at the clock and we're kind of at the end of our time. So would you
Oh,
like to
already?
I know, right?
Wow.
We're
We're
going to have
just
to do
getting
a part
surface
two.
level stuff.
I know, we're going to have to do a part two.
Yeah, we
Um,
sure are.
would you like to share some of your information for someone who might need what you offer?
Yeah, so I mean, if you want to get a hold of me, you can find me on Facebook. I know Christina will tag my Facebook profile on there, or you can find me at fatherkendoctor.com, spelled out completely, fatherkendoctor.com. You can reach me there. If you want to do some pastoral counseling, if you want some chaplaincy, please let me know. I'm also a board certified mental health coach. I'm supposed to be charging for my services, but I never do. So if you want to donate your time, if you want to donate to me, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm here to help out. I'm here to listen to you. If you're going through it, just please get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been a very enlightening conversation. And like you said, we've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably go for hours. I'm pretty sure if we just sat and cleared the calendar for the rest of the day,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
That would be awesome. But
that'd be
yeah,
great.
we both have other things to do. Thank
Uh,
you again, Ken, for coming and also for being my friend. And there's just a very important time in my life when you were a great support system, and I don't think you even knew it, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
did not know, but thank you so much.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much, and catch you next time on Paramystic Christina.
Be blessed, everyone.